All right, Batman Dark Patterns issue 1. Dan Waters writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. So yeah, we get detective Batman here, which is cool.
Also feels like a little bit early Batman too.
Well, I think he specifically says he's been Batman for 3 years, so it's
okay.
It's Batman year 3 if you want to call it that.
Okay.
But yeah, so it starts off with him just describing some of the awful things that have happened in Gotham recently. Like kids play this game in the subway tracks that's led to like various kids being killed over the years.
They're literally playing chicken with a train.
Talks about these dogs that are supposed to be illegal because they're too vicious, but they're still there in the bad parts of Gotham, and they've been terrorizing pensioners and killing cats. And then there's like a fire. It's an abandoned building, luckily, but there's a fire's broke out, and Batman doesn't know, is this kids messing around? Is this arson? But it's basically this dour intro where he's like, look, I can't save the people of Gotham from themselves. If they're going to mess up and do these bad things, I can't do anything about that. But I can target, the big things. I can target the murderers. I can target this stuff. And this is a murder story. He goes to a crime scene where the victim is basically being stabbed by a bunch of little needles.
I
guess we'd call it that.
Connor would hate this book.
But the more notable thing here, other than the victim of the very elaborate killing, and this seems to be the third of the murders that's happened, which now Batman takes it very seriously because it's a serial killer as opposed to just a one-time thing, is that there's this like guy from the forensics there, like the new like head of that for the police. That is really enthusiastic and is impressed with like the surgical precision of the killer, and he seems really into it. And Batman immediately is like, Gordon, can we speak outside alone? Yeah, I don't like him. He's way into this. Yeah, can we not use this guy? And Gordon's like, you're lucky we got a new coroner after the last one. But I actually loved this. This was a great line.
Yes, I was going to say.
Yeah. The last coroner ran away from the city when the Joker sent him like a Christmas card saying, to my favorite collaborator. That is such a funny line.
I want to see what Dan Waters can do elsewhere. His take on Gotham is darkly funny at times. So more of that. Also, this guy that they find, he has all the needles and stuff shoved into him. There's no blood, right? And so I understand why this coroner's looking at it as like, oh wow, but the way that Bruce points out, like, he also has symptoms of huffing formaldehyde. So, Jim, you might want to take a look at this guy. I thought that was also darkly funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got like a tone that it strikes up immediately. And obviously Batman tells us about the previous 2 victims, and that the first one was a lawyer who did a lot of shady cases, or well, not shady, but he represented
a pro bono, but not for the side that you would think.
No. Before that, he did cases for the evil companies. He did cases for the Iceberg Lounge, for LexCorp, like basically the DC version of all the ugly corporations. However, recently he started doing pro bono cases for good causes. Batman speculates that it's maybe because his conscience caught up to him, or maybe Gordon's the one that says that, but it's this idea that he kind of switched to doing good, like, because Batman mentions he's been doing pro bono cases recently, and Gordon's like, oh, he's an altruistic lawyer, and he's like, yeah, not until recently, because he was actually a scumbag for a long time.
Yeah.
So he was the first kill, and Batman breaks into like the law office to like look at his records. And finds a surprising amount of resistance when there's like an army of security guards that come to like fight him. And one of my favorite panels of the book actually is a panel of like 5 different like guns all pointing at Batman. It's like a really cool shot of like them all like in a line.
And yeah, it's Hayden Sherman, who's we've been enjoying his work on Wonder Woman, or the Absolute Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Right. Same kind of breakdowns that we're getting to. A lot of fun with the shapes. Right, for the pages and whatnot. So yeah,
and Batman jumps out the window, but he does get hit, so he's actually patching himself up afterwards, and he's like, it hurts less if I do it myself, Alfred, because Alfred wants to do it. And then Alfred points out that he's stitching up a wound that still got a bullet in it, and he's like, all right, fine, if you must, Alfred. But basically he looks into these files and finds out that the second 2 victims were both people that the lawyer had represented, or the lawyer had represented the opposition in their cases. Like, one was suing the city because the bridge collapsed with his wife and daughter on it. The other person had also lost family members, and they were suing whoever was responsible, and the lawyer was on the opposite side. Even though, like, because at one point Alfred says, oh, is there a revenge thing here? Because was it the man who died like at the start of the issue, the one they found, the victim, he was prosecuted years ago for the potential deaths of his elderly parents. And when Alfred says, oh, was it a revenge thing then? He's like, no, because he didn't do it. It turned out it was like a leak of some kind in the house. So it
was faulty wiring on the detector.
Yeah.
That killed them, right? So, but because he had the most to gain from it, it was looked at that it was him. So it seems it's also a bit of corruption at play.
Yeah.
As well, right? So again, Gotham being the city that it is, the suspects it's uncountable the amount of people it could be.
Yeah, so we don't know who it is, but we do know they're working down this list from his clients alphabetically. So Batman basically is like, this is who's next. Like, we know who's coming, who's next. There's no like weird pattern to it. It's quite simple. So Batman goes out and stakes out this next target's house, his apartment, and when he hears the guy scream and say, "Oh my God, what are you?" Batman actually kind of holds back for a bit and says, he's going to speak so freely right now because he thinks he's in the clear, that no one's going to hear this. So I'm going to listen to him talk for as long as possible until I have to intervene. So he does. Like, he hears him say a bunch of things. And yeah, the villain, whoever it is, says, I can give you what I could never have, what they took away from me. They took it away from me, but you can have so very much of it. So very ominous, very creepy, hard to get a gauge on what he's actually saying here. But when Batman jumps into the apartment, the villain looks a lot like the first victim, actually. It's like a very mutilated man with lots of like blades and twigs like sticking out of him. It's very, it's kind of like a grunge version of Pinhead or something like that.
Yes. It's do-it-yourself piercing, and this guy's going all the way through. It's not just ears and eyebrows. Oh my God! Dan Waters has a take for these creepy characters, right? Because I was like, what if this is the 10-eyed man, right? And we're going through it. This is worse than the 10-eyed man.
He's got little push pins like all over his head as well, actually.
Yes, and so when Batman goes to fight him, right, he notices like there's nails in his throat, so he can't kick there. I just had a cookie delivery. Yeah, he can't kick there or punch there. So it's almost like Batman has to fight to keep this man alive.
Yeah, to make clear what you're saying there is basically this guy is effectively booby trapped all the places where he could be killed, or all the places that he could be hit. So if Batman punches him anywhere where the organs are, he's got blades that will like stab him there. So if Batman punches him in the heart, the blade that's there is going to kill him. Same with his throat. Like basically his entire body, like he can't hit this guy without killing him. So Batman has to like try and think of a way around that, and
he can't even hit him with a trading dart because it's just gonna make him more powerful.
So yeah, he struggles greatly here, and it actually ends up being the victim because like there's a little bit of backstory with the victim that Batman explained before, which is he'd like double crossed or he'd pissed off the Falcone family, and the Falcone family had killed his wife, so he's been like living scared ever since then and tried to make good, but he's got a gun in the apartment because he was worried that they'd come back for him. So he actually shoots the gun, like a shotgun, at the villain. The villain runs away, but Batman, because he's so disorientated from the shotgun blast, like in the close range of the apartment, he can't get up in time to chase after him. So he's pretty pissed. In fact, he yells, "You idiot," at the guy. So
to be fair, there's a man with 1 million piercings beating the piss out of Batman. He did think he was helping. To
be fair, as far as justifiable shootings go, this one's high on the list. To be honest.
So just imagine that guy coming in and be like, "I can give you what you want. I can make you like me," and you're just like, "Oh no, get the hell away!" Like, it's very creepy. I love Dan Waters for this.
Yeah, so then the last page, because we're right at the end of the issue here, is just Batman, Bruce Wayne's looking through like some old books, and it's basically just like he's like, I kind of recognize what this thing is to some extent, and it's basically like medieval folklore of this thing called the Wound Man, and there's like a drawing in the book that he's looking at, or an illustration of this guy who's like symbolically, like basically just used swords and different things to stab himself all over. So it doesn't look quite like the thing we just saw, but you can see how spiritually it's the same idea.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough in real life. But yeah, and this is an illustration of all the places someone could like, it was for like medieval doctors to know where they could make cuts and whatnot, and the person still be okay. So it's meant to be non-fatal, except that this, you know, whoever this pierced man, this wound man is, right, is following through. But yeah.
So the idea is that he, like, this wound man thinks he's healing people in some way, and it seems like whoever this killer is based himself off this. But, I mean, even this illustration is a hell of a visual. Like
for sure.
Like I could, because there's so many books coming out soon, like any reason to not like add this to the read pile would have been so easy. But it's just so goddamn good that of course it
has so much going for it. Like, again, it's got Dan Waters, Hayden Sherman, and now you introduce this villain, which is like, okay, we're doing like a mystery angle, kind of, you know, like you said, Detective Batman, and then it becomes like 7 with Batman, and so let's go. This is one definitely not dropping.
Yeah, which is something Detective and Batman, the books tend to not get into as much as this just raw like thriller detective Batman. So it's actually got a place, you know, it's got a slot that it's filling into.
And from, you know, we read that Gotham, the Arkham book that Dan Waters did, too, that had kind of a detective element with the Arkham psychiatrist going around with the 10-eyed man, and what's his name? He took over Batman for Azrael. There we go.
Azrael.
Yes,
I wasn't sure you were
Jean
trying
Paul.
to say, so I couldn't help you.
I went to say Jean Paul, but then just the image of the bat suit that he wore came into my head. So we know that he's got a flair for these type of detective stories. So I was already sold, and then you're gonna have, like you said, gutter punk Pinhead in on this, and so much enjoyment.
One of the more memorable visuals I saw this week in a comic book. It was exciting to see where it could go from here. So, no, very, very good. And what are you giving Batman Dark Patterns issue 1?
I'm going to give this a 9.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with that. Yep, 9 out of 10.